against Washington, 43-21. I got my guys with me tonight to discuss it. Travis Blakesley, Clayton Garrett. As always, we're going to break it down. We'll be right back. Make sure you tune in. So finally, I think we all got the performance that we were looking for today. An angry Bills team coming off I guess you could call this two angry wins in a row. And they won in dominating fashion today, defeating the Washington football team 43-21. And it didn't even feel that close to me. Dominating performance on both sides of the ball. Josh Allen got back on track. The defense once again looked elite, flying around the ball, playing physical. Defensive line collapse in the pocket. Everything that we can ask for, they did today. And we got Moss mode. My man Zack Moss had a great game day. Moss mode activated. But as we said before, I got my guys with me. Clayton Garrett, what's going on?
Another day, man. It was a great game to watch today. I was really happy with all three phases today. I'm excited to talk about it.
And I got my guy Travis Blakesley. Trav?
It took 3 weeks, but we finally got the performance we've all been looking for. So it's good to get that out of the way.
A couple big guys today with standout performances. Emmanuel Sanders being one. We got to see what Manny Sands actually brings. Him and Josh Allen connected often and early today. It was a beautiful sight. Cole Beasley with a sneaky 11 catches. It got to a point late in the game. I didn't even know he had that many, but he did. And then Zack Moss. Maybe that first week of not playing him actually worked in the Bills' favor. For whatever reason, they got him going or whatnot. And he looked great today when Devin was not going. And that's what we look for, is when one running back is not going, the other one is. And today, I mean, clicked on all phases. Clayton, what do you got on Josh Allen in the offense today? 358 yards for the $258 million QB.
Yeah, out the gate today, they looked to have a certain amount of assertion in this game, and they had a lot more comfort right out the gate. They came out there, they were running with tempo. That first drive that they had, they were showing a lot of balance. They were running the ball, they were passing the ball. They had the short game going very efficiently for them, getting the ball out of Allen's hands quickly to try and combat that front for Washington. And it worked great for the Bills. It worked in their favor. That's why you saw players like Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley have such big days. The Bills were using that short passing game to their favor all game long, and it worked really well for them. They kept the chains moving. They kept the clock moving. They dominated in time possession. They had a nice approach. I was a huge fan of the game plan that they had going into today, and obviously it worked fairly well.
I mean, Josh was the guy who was catching a lot of flack the last 2 weeks here, and obviously after the money, you want to see him perform every week. But I thought this was a game he could get back on track. Trav, we talked about that last week. How'd you feel about the performance of QB1 today?
No, I mean, overall, it was fantastic. It was everything you wanted to see. We hit on all levels. You saw Josh get some touch under his pass. He had a lot of darts that he had to get to, kind of cut through the wind when we were going into it. The run game was effective. It was a culmination of everything. And, Clayton pretty much covered everything. But one thing I would like to add is you saw us work in the intermediate part of the field in the first half. As soon as they got the ball back in the third quarter, you saw them slow it down while implementing a tempo type offense. So what I mean is we saw a lot of runs, short passes, and that's where the sneaky Cole Beasley comes in. He has the ability to take over specific drives where they just keep feeding him the ball, and they never seem to fall out of rhythm. And that was something I know, Jeremy, you've been harping on the last few weeks. So great all around performance.
Yeah, I thought this was a game coming to this game, this was one that this would get Allen back on track. And I know a lot of people were really scared of this Washington defense when we saw the schedule, but this defense has not played well so far this season. It looks like a lot of first round picks, but they're very young. And I thought with having Cole Holcomb in the middle and having Jamin Davis, a rookie, and obviously this is being his third NFL game, that the Bills will be able to pick them apart in the middle of the field, and they would be able to get back on track. And today, I think they showed that. Josh Allen was poised, he was confident, and most importantly, he was decisive. Now we know that it was a little added motivation with the death of Brian Dable's grandmother this week, as he mentioned in his post-game interview press conference. But regardless of that, this team they were clicking all cylinders. And I thought last week at the end of the Miami game that they kind of got it going. It started clicking a little bit there. And if that was because of the preseason reps, I don't know if it was because you're playing two teams that were familiar with you. I'm not sure. But today, they put it all together. Obviously, 358 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdowns, 5 touchdowns total today, 2 touchdowns for Manny Sands. And I want to touch on Manny Sands today. And Manny Sands, Emmanuel Sanders, for you guys know what I'm talking about there. Emmanuel, we talked about him coming to the season and what he would bring and the added dimensions that he would bring that John Brown could not. I think today we saw that. I thought we saw it the first 2 games, although him and Allen were just missing each other. But I think we saw that veteran presence, the elite route running, and the fact that there's not much you can do to stop him, intermediate, short, or deep. He's just going to beat you. Trav, what you see for our guy, number 1, Manny Sands?
Yeah, he dominated on all 3 levels. As you mentioned, him and Allen were not in sync necessarily the first 2 games of the season. They were only really hitting on 50%. I mean, he caught everything thrown his way today, averaging almost 19 yards a reception, 2 touchdowns. He had that long one for 41. Leading the charge in the yards category. I just like how you brought up what he brings to the table that John Brown didn't, and I believe it's a lot of yards after the catch, getting underneath. He's really finding that opening in the middle of the defense, which was clearly their weak point. And once they really figured out what was working between Josh and Emmanuel, they capitalized on it quite often.
No, most definitely. Trav, Manny Sands.
Yeah, I mean, really the one thing that I feel like was undermined was just what Emmanuel Sanders can really bring to this offense, because people really haven't seen Emmanuel Sanders in a passing predicated offense for a couple of years now. I mean, last year he was with the Saints when they were dealing with their Drew Brees injuries and Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston. And the year before that, he was with the San Francisco 49ers. So now being able to see him in a spread system, being able to see him with players around him like Stephon Diggs, like Cole Beasley and Josh Allen and Gabriel Davis, it's really quite an opportunity for Emmanuel Sanders. And I think a lot of people saw what he brings to the table today, seeing how he can contribute in the short attack and the intermediate area of the field, and also deep. That was something I was really happy to see, being able to see Allen connect with Sanders deep. And, it just felt like their timing and the rhythm was just overhauled today. And, he can really work wonders for this Bills offense, as we saw. He really kept the chains moving, and it really felt like he was getting the mismatch while having Stephon Diggs on the same field as him. So, I mean, I think it's only more what we're going to be seeing more of here in the near future for the Bills offense.
It almost seems unfair to be a defense and to have a quarterback and an offense be able to call so many option routes. And obviously, we know that this NFL is filled with a ton of right receiver option routes where the receiver and quarterback have to be on the same page and they pick a route. They choose a route from what they see the defense is doing. And you have three of not only the top route runners in the NFL, but probably three of the highest IQ wide receivers in the NFL in Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley, and Emmanuel Sanders. It almost seems unfair. The other part that seems unfair to me is that Emmanuel Sanders is 34 years old. And he's continuously, we've seen him get open in multiple games behind people. It's almost unfair because we wanted that from John Brown. And nothing against Smoke. Like I said, Smoke was a great player here in Buffalo for 2 years. I'm glad that we had him. But he ain't no Manny Sands. He's not even close. And the only aspect of this offense I think we're missing in this receiving core is just that one speed guy who's just a straight 12 o'clock speed. Just vertical speed, just to take everything off the top. If we had that one piece, and that's nothing, not knock on Gabe Davis, thing like that, but if we had that one piece, and I always keep saying name like McCole Hartman. If we had a McCole Hartman on the other side of the field that could just take the top off the defense continuously, I don't care how many balls you catch in the season, just run the 9 route mark, he's good with it all year. It would make this team even more dangerous, but it's unfair. I think what we have also seen from having Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley together in the inside is we're not reliant on Stephon Diggs as much. It almost felt like in games versus the Chiefs in big games last year, we became solely reliant on Stephon Diggs to get this offense going. And by the looks of it today, in the first one, we may not have to do that this year. Of course, you want to get Steph the ball, but we don't have to force it. Didn't it feel forced last year at times to you guys?
Of course.
So it's just, it was a sight to see. And obviously, as we put the stat sheet up on the screen, Emmanuel Sanders had 5 receptions for 94 yards today, 2 touchdowns off 6 targets. And like you said, they were only completing 50% of their passes to each other. And obviously, I think we all expected a little bit of timing be off because I think people forgot that Emmanuel Sanders was out of camp a lot on and off with a foot injury as well, and also combined with the lack of preseason reps. So we keep bringing it up. But no, I think good job. Brian Dable today, I thought was the first week that we've seen him in rhythm. And I'll go back to the point before. I also felt like Brian Dable was finding his rhythm in the fourth quarter of that Miami game last week. I thought he started finding it. Today, I think it showed, and definitely our condolences to Brian Dable and his family on the passing of his grandmother, as the team has announced in the post conference. But Dable, I thought he did a hell of a job today. Coached a good game from front to end. And you guys know the drill. It is Brian Dable great day, as always. So if you can in the chat and you're watching live, please put what you think Brian Dable gets for a grade for the offense's performance today. 43 points put up. So Clayton, we'll come to you first. Our man Dabe's pretty good today, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If I had to give him a grade, it'd definitely be a B+. I thought he did a great job today. I thought the game plan he had coming in, attacking that front seven, it was obviously pretty effective. They did a pretty good job executing their plan. They did a pretty good job getting the ball out of Allen's hands to try and mitigate what that rush was doing. And by the third quarter, it was that front was really winded. They had their hands on their hips. They had been pinning their ears back, and they were getting really nowhere aside from Darren Payne pushing Cody Ford back a handful of times in the first couple series. There really wasn't much of a threat from that front of Washington, and that was a huge concern coming into this game. How the interior was going to match up with players like Darren Payne and Jonathan Allen, and the Bills' offensive line handled their job this week. I'd tip my cap to Bobby Johnson. I think he did an incredible job having a plan to keep that front at bay against the interior that they did. They were without Matthew Ioannidis today, but that was still a good front nonetheless. And they got the ball out of Allen's hands. They were targeting the receivers short, and that was able to open up the field for them. I felt like there was more balance today. I felt like they weren't afraid to run the ball. They were getting 2 or 3 yards at a time at times. And, in times in the past, we've seen Brian Dable get scared when his offense isn't moving the ball with efficiency on the ground. And today that wasn't evident. They were getting 2 or 3 yards at a time, and he still kept giving the rock to Devin Singletary and Zack Moss. And that's really the trust I want to see him instill in this rushing attack in the future. I think it does wonders for this offense. I think it does nothing but open up the playbook for your entire offense, for your passing game, short, intermediate, and long. And it was pretty evident today as Allen had a really efficient day, his first big game of the year, and hopefully it's the signs of more to come.
Well, it better be. It better be. Like I said, we'll be having more bad takes all week about these people going all crazy if Allen ain't thrown for 400 yards. I think we may have been a little spoiled last year too. We haven't had a quarterback to almost ever do that. It feels like, I know in your lifetime, Clayton, we've never had a quarterback to do this. So, I mean, I think we got a little spoiled. Quarterbacks aren't going to throw 400 yards every game. And if you are, that usually means sometimes you plan from behind is not necessarily the best thing either. But, Travis, you were speaking on Daniel Dable last week in the balance. I thought today he did a really good job of finding the running game, but then also finding the hot hand in Zack Moss.
Absolutely. Zack Moss played very well. I thought he was the more decisive of the backs. We all know he's going to initiate contact, but I really liked when he broke it outside. He was able to, find the edge and get the ball upfield. I thought Dable did a fantastic job with mixing in the run, mixing in the short passing as a complement to the running game. Obviously, the bread and butter is that intermediate game for this Bills offense. When you get Emmanuel Sanders playing the way he did, you got guys like Beasley who can find a seam, and then Stephon Diggs who, quiet day, but it's great to see your number one wide receiver have a quiet day, and it seemed like it was business as usual. He didn't seem upset. Seems like all these guys really want each other to eat. But I touched on earlier, I really loved the shift in focus where we just started milking that clock. There was a clear change in perspective and way we were going to attack this defense coming out of halftime. And, we could have put 60, 70 points up on this team the way we were executing, but instead, we're just looking to stay healthy and catch that W. So overall, I mean, I couldn't give the guy anything less than a B+, but I'd probably go with an A- just because this is the exact performance that the Bills have been waiting to see since the loss against Kansas City in the AFC Championship.
I guess I'm going to give him an A today. Actually, I'm going to give him an A+. I'm going to give him an A+. And the plus is going to come from the fact that when you have to deal with adversity in life. It's tough coaching this game. It's tough playing this game. It's tough doing anything around this level of football in the NFL. And when you lose someone, and obviously from the press conferences, Brian Dable's grandmother raised him. When you lose somebody like that in the middle of a week and you have to go coach a game, and I don't know if your head is in it. It's very easy for your head to not be there and not be able to do it. It's very easy to take grievance time and say, hey, I can't do this week. He didn't, and he came out and he coached a complete game. And that's hard as hell to do. That's hard as hell to do. So I'm gonna give Brian Dable A+ for this performance today. I have to go back to your point, Travis, where he mixed in the run. He did it at the right times. He called the right plays. He took the right shots. Everything was correct today. We didn't see Josh hit the ground too much. We didn't see Josh run the ball too much on the QB. I think we ran maybe what, one QB keeper.
It was 2 of them.
2 of them. Okay.
Yeah, 2.
I'm okay with that because I'm okay with at least running 2 a game. I'm not one of those people that say, hey, don't ever run him at all. He's $250 million. You do have to run. You have to keep the defense honest. So I was okay with that. So I'm going to give Brian Dable A+. And, Davis is a guy that I've given hell over the last 3 years. I've not been the nicest to him, but tip the hat when it's due. And today he did his job, and he did it spectacularly well. And once again, condolences to him and his family on the loss of his grandmother. Zack Moss, I thought looked like an angry bull. And he's looked like that since he got back in the field. And I don't know if you guys know, last week he ran that touchdown in the end zone. He actually separated the shoulder of Landon Roberts on that run. He's playing with a cause and a purpose. And I bash McDermott for benching him or leaving him inactive week one, because I think it was just not a good move for the Bills culture. But if this is the type of response that you wanted to get from him, then that's great. This is what you wanted. Because as a coach, you do have to pick your spots where you irritate or agitate your players. All great coaches tell you any sport across the board. I thought he did a hell of a job today. I mean, when you look at Zach's numbers, he had 91 all-purpose yards today. He also showed off his receiving skills. He had three receptions for 31 yards, 13 carries for 60 yards, and 1 touchdown, which was receiving. Getting that from your backup, and I can't. We really can't call him a backup. It's really 1A, 1B. If you really want to go there and talk about it, but when you can put him in and get that performance from him, it makes it so much easier on your entire offense. It makes it so much easier on Josh. And once again, we can't talk enough about his pass blocking. Zack Moss is very underrated. Clayton?
Yeah, I have nothing but nice things to say about Zack Moss, and none of these compliments are slights at Devin Singletary by any means. But every time he's touched the ball these last 2 weeks, he has ran with a purpose, and he has oozed nothing but his pure ability. His ability to make guys miss, his ability to run through tacklers, his ability to pick the right hole. See, that was the main thing with Zack Moss in his first year, was sometimes it didn't really look like he knew where to go with the football. He knew what hole to cut into, or he knew what gap to make his decision and pick his spot, if you will. But now he's really running with a purpose. It doesn't really seem like he's reacting as much as he's taking the ball, cutting up field and getting yards after contact and yards after the line of scrimmage. And, it's really been refreshing to see his ability catching the football too, because players with that kind of play style, guys who run angry, guys who run with low shoulder pads, those aren't necessarily your receiving backs. Those aren't necessarily the guys that you're going to dump the ball off to a couple times in some situations. But in the same time, he is the Bills' best option at that job. He is the Bills' best receiving threat out of the backfield. And he is slowly, more and more, giving me more comfort when the Bills decide to put him in those situations. And this isn't a slight at Devin Singletary, but I was commenting today in the CFR chat about how he's simply not a natural receiving back. He doesn't have the hands and the instincts to just catch the ball, turn upfield, and go, and not really have the worries in his head of tacklers incoming or players that are coming to make the play or anything of that nature. Whereas Zack Moss, he has really soft hands, and he takes the ball and he runs with a purpose after he catches the football. And I'm really excited for what the Bills could potentially have. I think he has the most talent out of anybody in that running back room.
You are definitely right on the Devin Singletary pass catching. Although he's day and night from when he came into the league. I mean, it was uncomfortable as a fan, an analyst, whatever you call it, watching him catch the ball at the backfield his rookie year. It's very uncomfortable. I thought someone was gonna really undercut this dude's knees and kill him because he couldn't turn fast enough. But Zack Moss is just a complete football player. He's complete. He's great at pass blocking. He's good. He's solid at running the football. He's good at catching the ball at the backfield. We've seen him catch multiple touchdowns from Allen now. And when you put him in the goal line, I think that you can be confident he's going to punch it in. That's a real comfort zone to have a back like that, because I watched a Miami and Raider game today that, I mean, for Christ's sake, I didn't know if they were either team was ever going to punch it in by the goal line. And it's scary. It's scary. But it's almost feel like if the Bills get within the 5-yard line between Allen and Moss, you have a guaranteed 7 somehow. So that's a good feeling. But yeah, kudos to Zack Moss on his performance today. And actually make sure you guys are catching his podcast too. Moss Mode Show on YouTube, Moss Mode on Instagram, Moss Mode TV, I think, on Instagram, and no, Moss Mode Show is Moss Mode Show. Jeez, I'm the producer of the show. I don't even know what the hell it is. My bad. But yeah, it's Moss Mode Show. New episode should be coming out pretty soon. So I want to switch gears here, and I want to talk about the defense a little bit before I get back to Cole Beasley, because Beasley was a guy that I bashed this week too. So I kind of apologize a little bit there. I apologize. I ain't got no problem apologize. So I want to talk about the defense. This defense again looked elite. Leslie Frazier had these guys ready to play. And I'm saying Leslie Frazier because I think it's him now. I don't think Sean McDermott is putting his input too much. I think Leslie got it. The defensive line, once again, solid. We didn't get rack up the sacks today, but they collapsed the pocket like no other. Their defense on look like knights in shining armor better than Washington's D line today. And that D line is heralded as being possibly the top defensive line in football. Epinesa, kind of surprised that he's with the second team today. Rosu got to start opposite Jerry Hughes. Mario Addison got shoved around a couple of times. I know one time he tried to do a spin move, and I think Aaron Flowers just like almost killed him, man. He felt like an old man out there. But that was funny. But no, I thought they played good. Justin Zimmer, Ed Oliver, Starla Tulele looks quick. I'll give him credit for that. He does look a lot quicker. But I want to go to the defense line now. Trav, what would you grade this defense line? You know, matter of fact, what if you're watching live, grade the defensive line today.
Yeah, I'll go with a solid B plus. We didn't get those numbers per se, although your boy Star got credited for that sack somehow where Heineke ran out of bounds. So yeah, I mean, these are the pressures that count. If you watched the defensive line of Washington, there was penetration, but the difference was it was one guy. And Allen was able to maneuver in the pocket to where it didn't make a difference. That looked a lot like Buffalo last year with Jerry Hughes. You know, maybe he was getting pressure, but he left an entire opening on his side, or the quarterback was able to step up. We didn't see that from the Buffalo Bills defensive linemen because everybody was getting push. That pocket was getting smaller, not only from the outside edges, but from inside too. So all of these mishaps by Heineke were directly related to this pressure. You saw 2 interceptions that count. You saw another one that didn't, but it was directly related to these guys being up in his face, and Heineke never looked comfortable. Again, the sacks didn't show up. We didn't blitz the way I thought we may have, and certainly the way we saw them blitz Miami, but they played coverage and there really wasn't much to be had, especially Trey. Shout out to Trey with a great job shadowing Terry.
No Trey hate tonight, man. No Trey hate tonight, EJ. So
Terry get 2 catches today, I think, right?
No, I think he had 62 yards, something like that. But that last catch, he got a couple catches in garbage time.
And that wasn't on Trey, that big one.
I was like, yeah. I think it was Dane. I think it was Dane Jackson in the game at that point.
It was garbage time. But no, Kelly, I know how much you love the trenches. Where'd you grade the D-line today? What'd you see?
Oh, I'd give him a B for sure. You know, that defensive line, it's just really refreshing to see this defense work the way it's meant to work, see these linebackers play the way they're meant to play, and really maintain their responsibilities the way they're supposed to. You know, it just felt like they didn't really have the chance to do it last year with the lack of ability or the lack of bodies, if you will, the lack of size that they had up front in comparison to this year. And, you know, Starla Tulele, having him back, he has certainly been a presence. I love seeing him hustle his butt to go chase Taylor Heineke as he's running out of bounds for the line of scrimmage stick. That's always refreshing to see. You know, I don't think we would have seen him do that in years past. I don't think we would have seen nearly as much, not necessarily as much hustle, but nearly as much agility as Jeremy had alluded to at the beginning of the segment. But the defensive line, I felt the defensive line, they weren't giving Heineke enough time for these guys to get open. That's really the biggest thing for the Bills defensive backfield is they have a pretty good secondary back there with Poyer and Hyden, as you saw them get interceptions today, and another Teron Johnson interception that had been called back on a penalty. I thought that the Bills defensive backfield did a great job today. But that was mostly because the plays were breaking down at the right time. That offensive line did a good job against the Bills defensive line today, but not good enough. I felt like that they were getting pressure at timely opportunistic opportunities, and it really had an effect on the passing attack in the right way.
And shout out to Marcy Bollock in the chat. We blitzed one time and got burnt for the screenplay for a TD. You know, I love women watch football to break it down. That's Marcy. I know that's I don't know if they're married, but our guy over there, Rob Gardner, over there at Bills Mafia RX, do a lot of good charitable things over there in their group. So make sure you check them out. They raise a lot of money for disabled Bills fans going through hard times. So they do a lot of things. So make sure you check them out in their group at Bills Mafia RX. But yeah, no, I thought the defense line did well today. Like I said, it wasn't as good as it was the first 2 weeks. I don't think they collapsed the pocket as much as they did either. I prefer to see Epinesa start on the other end. I just think he's bringing a toughness and nastiness here that you can't match. I'll be interested to see what the snap counts is too after this game. I'm very, very interested to see what the snap count is because we've been seeing Jerry Hughes' snaps decrease little by little. And Mario Addison was playing a lot more today than he did in the first 2 weeks. Don't really know why, but he was. So I mean, I thought the defense line did well. I'm gonna give them a B. I would have liked to saw more sacks, but at the end of the day, they did their job. They stayed in their lanes, and they didn't create a comfortable pocket for Heineke. And as you said earlier, Travis, about the Jerry Hughes pressures from last year, that's what it looked like with Josh Allen opposite the ball. You're absolutely correct. Where, yeah, Chase Young and these guys are getting upfield, but you're leaving a lane for the quarterback just to step up in. And yeah, that's fine. PFF may count that as a pressure. But what I can tell you as a fan, as an analyst, whatever you call it, that type of pressure sucks. And it does nothing. And we saw it, which is why Allen threw for 358 yards today. Yeah, Jonathan Allen, he beat in drop in, they were beating Cody Ford a lot today in the passing game, but it didn't matter. You just created a lane. Whereas the Bills, if they weren't beating their man, they weren't creating a lane for Heineke, a passing lane or a lane from the run through. So I thought it was a great job by the defense line again. Once again, another strong game from Tremaine Edmonds, playing physical, being leader of his defense. As I said before, he looks very, very decisive this season. Extremely decisive. And Matt Milano is earning every penny of that contract that he got this offseason. You guys want to talk about the linebacking core for a second?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you look at what these linebackers are able to do with this defensive line, really maintaining their gaps, maintaining their lanes, as I was alluding to my previous point, these guys are really just able to read, react, and take care of their responsibilities and fly to the football. And these guys are really good at it. Aside from that one lackluster pursuit angle that Edmonds took that I made a comment on, or late, I think it was in the third quarter of the game. But it was a really lackluster play. It just looked like poor effort. But he was about 25 yards away from the pylon. I felt like he should have made it to there. But aside from that play, I really felt like Edmonds and Milano have really continued to keep up with the high pace that they have set for themselves in the first 2 weeks of the season. And it's just continued today. You see these guys flying around, making plays, making the reads and flying to the football, making aggressive, fast plays. And that's what I like to see from these linebackers. That's what they're meant to do when the defensive line is maintaining the responsibilities that they're assigned in this defense. And Milano and Edmonds have been doing an incredible job this season. And hopefully, they don't peak out. That's really what I'm hoping for, is that these two guys can keep up the pace that they've set for themselves, because it's really what's setting this defense apart.
I don't even think it's a pace. I think this is what they developed into now. Because we've seen this type of play from them before. It's just that for Milano, it was always an injury hit at a certain time. For Tremaine, it would be the injury hit from Milano and messing him up for trying to overcompensate for whoever we had next to him. By the way, if you guys are watching this show, I don't know what I'd say earlier, please like and share the show. If you're on YouTube, on Facebook, give us a like, share it out, let your family members see. On Tuesday night, I'll be going live and I'll be giving away something else possibly. We'll see what we're giving out. But yeah, Trav, what you got on this linebacking core and secondary?
Matt Milano's there. This guy can do it all. I mean, that fourth down play pretty much sums up. It sums it up. He knows he's got a nose for the football. He's aggressive, and his tackling is better. He always had a knack for coverage. He's always around the football. He makes plays on the football, whether it's forcing fumbles, whether it's picking off errant passes, whether it's recovering fumbles like he did today. He's got it all. And Edmonds is developing as well. I think the only thing that's really left for Edmonds outside of that pursuit, you were right, Clayton. He seemed like he was running half speed to the pylon, and then Jaquan Johnson showed him how it's done later on in the game, where he smacked Heineke before he got to the pylon. So outside of that, the one thing I am a little concerned about Edmonds that really hasn't improved is he's easily manipulated in zone coverage. He follows the quarterback's eyes a bit too much, and he can get worked that way. He doesn't necessarily know what's going on behind him. So I don't know if he's not dropping, his depth isn't enough, but he just doesn't have a knack for reading what's going on behind him. And, in the AFC Championship game, he got manipulated time after time. And I saw it happen at least once in this game. And, going back, it's something to definitely keep an eye on. Secondary wise, I mean, we clearly have the best safety tandem. I'm comfortable saying that. They're able to do so much pre and post snap. They disguise their coverages. They show blitz. They can blitz. These are guys who can man up on slot receivers. They can help over the top. It's just the fact that Jordan Poyer doesn't have a Pro Bowl is criminal. I know it doesn't mean all that much, but he definitely deserves those accolades. And again, I'm going to shout out Trey White again because he always has a target on his back, and he traveled with Terry, and Terry had a quiet game outside that one reception.
No, he doesn't have a target on his back. It's only a few. It's only a few people shooting blanks at that target map there. He doesn't have a target on him. Clay, what'd you think of? What did you think of the secondary there? You definitely shout out to Trey White again, man. I said that on the show Tuesday that I felt Trey wasn't in full shape yet, and as season goes on, he's gonna get in better shape, and that this matchup will bring the best out of him, and I think it did. And did they put Trey on Terry in the slot today? Did I see that?
Yeah, you saw that.
So he traveled with the best receiver today, right?
Yeah, he traveled with the best receiver. I really don't. Terry McLaurin's a really good receiver. I think Terry McLaurin's a really, really good receiver, but he is not in the same tier of receivers as Trey White is in tiers of cornerbacks. I would disagree with that wholeheartedly. And I think today, if that's not proof enough for you, I really don't know what it is. I thought Trey did a really good job today against Terry McLaurin. I think Trey has been doing an excellent job thus far this season as well. I think he's been playing as well as he's played to start a year as he has in any year. I think today was just more of the same for Trey White. He looked really comfortable out there today. They look to be playing aggressive in the back end of the defense today, which is something I really like to see from this defense. I think it really, it kind of opens the door for them to get those interceptions, to jump on those passes. And I like seeing the defensive backfield looking confident like they did today. And Trey White is no exception to that, as he had a really good day against McLaurin.
No, I think that you're right. You're actually right, Travis. Jordan Poyer does not get enough credit. For a guy who consistently gets 100 tackles a year, constantly creates turnovers, and shout out to Trey for his peanut punch today of the strip of Logan Thomas. Always timely, and we've seen that multiple times from Trey White. Jordan Poyer with the pick on Heineke today, another solid game for him. As always, filling up the box sheet. He only had 2 tackles today. He had 1 tackle for loss. He had 1 pass defense. And then he had an interception. The guy just fills up the stat sheet. And if you look at Micah Hyde's stats, 5 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 2 pass defenses, and 1 interception. You can say what you want to say about the Chuck Clarks in Baltimore, the Tyrann Matthews in Kansas City. None of these guys are filling up the stat sheet like these two. They all have some deficiencies or some flaws, but there's not too many deficiencies or flaws in the game of Poyer and Hyde. You can put them in man coverage versus certain receivers, not all. Certain receivers, you can definitely man versus tight ends. You can blitz either one of them if you like. You can play them around the line of scrimmage. You can play them back in cover 4 or cover 3. And they're going to find the football and find a way to make an impact. You can't say that about all safeties. Yeah, I know there's a guy out there in Seattle who used to talk a lot of trash about Buffalo that's getting record money for safety, and he can't cover. He couldn't cover a book cover if you gave him a book. There's a guy in Tyrann Mathieu who I love, the Honey Badger in Kansas City, and they move him all around like a chess piece, but he doesn't put up the tackles like Poyer and Hyde do. He doesn't. These guys don't get enough respect, and it's fine. It's fine. We're used to that in Buffalo. What? End of the day, you're right. This is the best tandem in the league. I don't even think it's close. I don't think it's close. And I think the rest of the league understands that now. So if you guys got any questions, I want you guys to start putting them in the chat. We got a couple minutes left in this show. and we're gonna start taking some questions. I'm trying to think what we had something else to talk about tonight. So we talked about Josh Allen, talked about Dave's, talked about
Special teams
Leslie.
look great.
Oh,
aside from the one kickoff thing, that was McKenzie got caught chasing butterflies in the end zone there. I'll admit that, but I think that we keep coming on here and talking about the Gunners. We keep talking about Saran Neal. We keep talking about Tywan Jones, and every time that punt is going to the kick returner or it's about to get fielded in their area, those two are always nowhere. They're right on top of it. They are not far away from the ball, and they're always there to make a play when it's time to pin them. And I think Matt Hawk, however you say his name, has been a quiet, valuable addition. And I think Corey Bojorquez was missing a lot of those touchback plays that could have been made from these two last year. But now we're seeing how good the special teams can really be.
We understand the consistency part. And yeah, you know what? Best two gunners in the league, too. I'll say that, too. Tywan Jones and Saran Neal are the best two gunners in the NFL.
I mean, we've given up like nothing on punt returns
in like 3 years.
Not even exaggerating.
in like 3 years.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Did they ask? You know what? Cody Will says Teron Johnson, JT. Yeah, you know what? Teron has been playing well. He said also, I just wanted to hit on it again. Johnson is playing crazy good right now, very consistent. 110% agree with you. And I've been a critic of Teron Johnson, so that's why I know you tagged me with it, and I'm fine with it. Definitely. I'm fine with it. Teron Johnson is playing very good football, and he's staying healthy, which has been the biggest factor. He's healthy. So most definitely. And Leroy Wenzel says, Mud Dog says, what about Knox? Yeah. Yes, our guy Dawson Knox, the guy that everybody wanted to run out of town. Everybody wants to trade for Zach Ertz and draft Firemore. And everybody on this panel kept saying, hey, Dawson will be okay. He'll be fine. Dawson Knox, let's touch on Dawson before we get off tonight. Trav, what you got on Dawson? You go first, man.
You got Dawson making those tough catches look easy. Luckily, we didn't throw too many easy ones to him. But yeah, he's just like I keep harping on. You give him his 4 to 5 targets. Maybe in some games he gets a little bit more. But he's making those plays. He's catching the touchdowns. He's doing exactly what you need when you are the 4th or 5th option in a spread offense. So I want the Bills to keep their money invested in those big pieces and, keep guys like Dawson Knox around. I mean, in this offense, they can kind of go into the same category as running backs where you find those guys in those mid rounds, you get what you can get out of them. And then, if they warrant a big contract, you go ahead and roll the dice and then draft again. So, keep giving me more of Dawson Knox. Clearly him and Josh, I've said it before, they're on the same page. Moss as well. That's why I like Moss as the number 1 running back, because Allen looks for him. Allen could have took off and ran for that touchdown, but no, dumps it off to his boy Moss. You can tell they have that chemistry. So, yeah.
And before I switch to you, Clayton, I actually want to give the stat that Mud Dog gave us. Since the Charger games of last year, Buffalo Bills tight end Dawson Knox has 7 TD catches, a reception percentage of 74%, and a 4% drop percentage, which is rare. And Josh Allen's passer rating when targeting him in this time period is 133.75. Just saying. Putting in work.
So clutch. He's so clutch,
man. Clutch.
So clutch,
man.
Because Dawson Knox, I aside, he had that one drop today on a pass that Allen got lit up and it was thrown way behind him. I don't know if PFF would warrant that as a catchable pass, but Dawson Knox has been money whenever he's been targeted this season. And I don't think that's hardly a coincidence given the stats that, Mud Dog provided for us in the chat. I think that Dawson Knox, he's really just quietly just there for this Bills offense. And I love what he brings to the table. His athleticism, his ability with the ball in his hands after the catch, his ability to just make these spectacular catches in the end zone. The one that I can remember comparable to the one that he made today. I mean, the catch wasn't the same, but it was just as difficult. Was that diving catch that he made against the Patriots in New England a couple years ago in 2019. We've seen him have success in matchups, and we've seen him have success with these difficult plays. And, it was really refreshing today to see the Bills be able to target a guy like Dawson Knox on a back shoulder fade in the end zone and him be able to win a jump ball such as he did. And it's really refreshing to see him, look comfortable in this offense, not look lost, not lose confidence because of whatever dropping or drops that have really plagued him in the past. And he really, I think that's the biggest thing for him, is he looks comfortable out there, and that's really doing wonders for this Bills offense.
Yeah, most definitely. I just think that Dawson is I think he's underrated. I don't expect Dawson to ever have a 70 catch, 900-yard season. But for what we need and the offense that we're running right now, as you said earlier, Travis, to be the fourth or fifth option, he's perfectly fine. And he's athletic as hell, which creates a major mismatch for teams. So I think he's fine. I think he's developing. This is his third year. And remember, this is a guy who did not go into Ole Miss as a tight end. He went to Ole Miss as a quarterback. He had to switch his position, and he didn't get many balls because he on one side was A.J. Brown, the other side was D.K. Metcalf. This is a guy who needs developing, and he's getting there. I'm so glad for Dawson, and I hope he continues to have a great season, and I hope he gets a contract extension when it comes time, because I think he's a good player, and I think you also can't teach, and you can't replace what he brings in for that locker room. When we talk about Dawson Knox, we often have to speak on culture and what he brings to the locker room and how well of a guy like. Now, Clayton, this is a guy that we got to meet. You know, we had to sit down to and actually talk. Such a humble guy. So shout out to Dawson there. Shout out to Mark Davis. He was checking in from Australia, Melbourne. Hey, Mike, how are you? So I hope I got it right. You know, hope that sounds good. Maybe not. Maybe if I did, maybe I can get me a little movie acting deal or something. I don't know. But no, I think overall today the Bills played well. Like I said, all phases of the game, besides that one weird kickoff, we saw the emergence of Emmanuel Sanders. We saw more balance on offense. We saw Josh Allen check the box and get right, as we want to call it that. I can't ask for anything more. 43 points on the board, 21 points. Pretty much, I would call it 14 because we gave him short field on the defense. In 2 weeks right here that the defense has allowed 14 points in 2 weeks. And actually, if you want to go from the beginning of the season, 14, 16, you're talking about 30 points through the 3 games. That's a totally different defense. But before we get out here, I want you guys to give your game ball of the week. So who gets the game ball today for you, Clayton?
Oh, game ball's got to go to Allen. You know, him being comfortable back there, having the poise, having command of this offense, really not allowing, as Travis alluded to earlier, you know, kind of having those Jerry Hughes type pressures where they were making an impact on the game, but Allen just steps to his right, steps to his left, makes a play with his legs, and he's able to evade pressure and make a play with the football. And, you know, just what Allen's able to do in improvisation, you know, in that area of the field, I think there's not many people that are comparable to him in the league. And that really made a huge difference for him today, being able to move off of his spot, get away from interior pressure when it came to him from Darren Payne and Jonathan Allen. And I thought it really made a huge difference today. So absolutely, Allen gets a game ball.
Trav, who gets your game ball?
Well, obviously, objectively, it's going to be Allen, but just to be a little different, I'm going to go with Emmanuel Sanders. You know, clearly it was his breakout game. He looks very comfortable in this offense. Him and Josh were on the same page on just about every throw. He got himself 2 touchdowns. He leads the team in yards. And yeah, you know, he really... I loved listening to his little soundbite earlier in the week where he's like, I don't care. I just want to win. You know, he's done it all. And I like that moxie he brings. You know, he said there's nothing really else for me to do. He's done it all. So, you know, just play your part. I mean, he put in to bring up Miami, he sprung Singletary on that big run. That block was crucial for him to get in the end zone. So I'll go, although Josh Allen clearly dominated, I'll go with Emmanuel Sanders for his breakout performance.
All right, I'll go a little different. I'm going to give my game ball to Brian Daboll today. You know, I thought he was in rhythm. I think he got on track. And like I said earlier, it's really hard to coach this game at this level. It's a lot of pressure on it. Obviously, this is a guy whose name is in head coaching talks and will be again this season. So, I mean, for him to coach this game today with a heavy heart and to coach the game that he did, I think for that deserves a game ball. And as you've seen Deion Dawkins post about it after the game, saw Josh Allen talk about it. The team loved Dave's, and I give him my game ball today. So, great job. And like I said, once again, you know, condolences to him and his family. So, And we got a couple comments here. David Steinman says, Travis,
Shout
last
out.
night I told you Sanders was on show last night show with Mookie. I told you Sanders was going to get the first TD today.
He
David
did.
Steinman.
Shout out, David.
He said, we got some smart listeners, man. Our listeners are smart.
We do.
Cody Wells says, I think KC is going to start falling slowly now. People have figured them out. Still super talented, though. I've been saying that. I've been saying all year, I feel like something's going to go wrong. It seems too good of a story. And in football and any sport, we know if it seems too good of a story, sometimes things happen. Let's see what else we got. My man Ray Cruz says, unsung hero of the game equals Diggs all day. Thinks he's alluding to the fact that Diggs opens everything up for everyone else. And you know what? You're exactly right. That's the effect of having a true elite number one receiver. And Diggs had a quiet day, and still in a quiet day was 6 catches for 62 yards. That's quiet. That's quiet, you know. So let's see. We had a question from a man, Cody Ford, earlier. I don't know where it is now. I think he was making mention that 2 years ago the Bills wanted Sanders, and I think he was asking if the Bills got Sanders, will we have Diggs now? I still think so. I still think we would put the trigger on the Diggs. When a player of Diggs caliber comes available, I just don't think you pass on it if you do. And then Ray Cruz asked, how can the Bills incorporate Gabe Davis more in the offense? We lose an aspect that he provides in what it creates, evident mismatches. Yeah, that's a good question. I'll let you go first, Travis, and Clayton, then I'll finish up.
It's hard, though. There's only one ball, and you can only have so many eligible receivers on the field. He did have one catch for 23 yards, so he's just going to have to pick his spots. He's going to have to, in the same way Dawson Knox, make the most of his targets. I mean, if you're paying guys like Sanders and Diggs all that money, they're going to get a share of the targets, and then you got Beasley going underneath where he can just take over a drive. Gabe Davis is going to have to manufacture these plays on his own. But the good news is I think more so his importance will lie in the future for this Buffalo Bills team. He's going to be a guy who is going to replace one of these 34-year-old receivers. So I don't think you have to worry too much about Gabe. If somebody goes down, we know he can step in and fill in any role on this offense. He knows all of the positions. So I just think you just got to be patient in that regards.
And I think one thing that a lot of people are forgetting is that, having 4 wide receivers such as the Bills do is quite a luxury. Gabe Davis is very capable. I think the signs that we have seen from Gabe Davis this season indicate nothing but growth and development on his end. And, his work in the offseason is shining through into this season. And, that goes a long way. And it's really matchup dependent, I feel like some weeks you're going to see him get more snap percentages or higher snap percentages than others. It's really dependent on the game plan and the opponent that they're facing and what their offense is really going to be predicated on that day. I feel like today you didn't really see as much spread. You didn't see them spread them out as much. Obviously, they ran a good amount of spread, but they were also running a much more balanced approach than they had the past 2 weeks, and that boded extremely well for them. So, I like I said, it's really going to depend on matchups. But Gabe Davis, I wouldn't be worried about Gabe Davis at all. He's going to be incorporated in this offense. He's going to get his targets. He's going to get his snaps. And he's a really good receiver, and I think he's going to just do nothing but get worked into the offense more and more as the season progresses.
Yeah, I believe that Gabe is he's still learning. He's still learning the game of football, and he a receiver position in NFL, and he has 3 of the best teachers that you can have, and Sanders, Biggs, and Beasley. They all bring something different to the game, but they also bring something very similar. One thing that they all bring similar is professionalism to their craft, the work ethic to their craft. So, I mean, and we saw a little bit of that in the offseason with Gabe working with Diggs. But like you said, yeah, he's got to pick his spots. I think that if we did have Emmanuel Sanders, that Gabe Davis would probably be an 800-yard receiver in this offense. But unfortunately, it's a good problem to have, and we do have Emmanuel Sanders at it, and we do have Cole Beasley, and we do have Stephon Diggs all playing at a high level. So yeah, he will have to pick his spots, but his time will come. And when his time comes, he better be ready, because he is following the following act after one of these or 2 of these gentlemen, and he's going to be held to the same standard that they're held to. So he better prepare for that. Mark Davis says, where is the Texans most dangerous? Do the Bills have them covered? I would say the masseuse room, but I'll let you guys answer first.
I mean, they have a stable of the island of misfits running backs, it seems. So they just got a ton of guys who I guess that's where you go to end your career as a running back. That being said, I mean, they're an NFL team. I mean, there are no Jets of, the years past. They'll be competitive, but they're just, like you said, there's outside of the masseuse's room, it's a mess over there, and it's a shame we don't get to see Tyrod play. But Colton, I don't know if you see anything that I'm not seeing.
Clayton.
Oh yes,
it's all right.
What did he call him? What did he call him?
Call me Colton.
I called him a Colton.
Colton Schmidt.
Oh, holy Schmidt! All right. See, it's okay, but I was really looking forward to seeing Tyrod Taylor play against the Bills. Not necessarily because it was going to make it more competitive necessarily, but just because it would have been fun to watch. But I really think a lot of people are overrating the Texans because they play nobody but unopportunistic teams that aren't meant to win or that aren't Super Bowl contending teams that so far. So I'm expecting something similar to what we saw today next week. And I think anything less would be a disappointment. I really don't think the Texans offer much, and I really don't think they match up well with the Bills at all. And I think that the Bills, especially being on their home field, are really going to have them covered next week.
Unfortunately, I think that they don't match up well with anybody in the NFL, and they'll be looking for that first number one overall pick next year. And I feel bad for my guy David Culley because you took this job and you think you're going to have Deshaun Watson, and you don't have Deshaun Watson. Then you get Tyrod Taylor, and he's playing fairly well. Then he gets injured, and now you have David Mills, and it's just, like you said, a stable of running backs of just everybody's trash or garbage, if you want to call it that. A bad contract in David Johnson, a over-the-hill back in Mark Ingram, and a Philip Lindsay, who's probably, if he was starting, he'd probably get injured again. So, I mean, I would say the only thing that they have is, I have the group of Marcy Bullock in the chat again. Brandon Cooks. That's probably all they have. And Brandon Cooks have 180 yards, and they'll still lose by 20. It almost doesn't even matter. I feel bad for them coming to town because one thing that we notice about good football teams is when they get pissed off, they're not just pissed off after a loss after one game or next game. They're pissed off into their next big one. And with the Chiefs coming to town or them going to see the Chiefs, this team ain't happy. So the Texans, I think another blowout may be coming. And I mean, I'm gonna have Mud Dog look up or try to dig for the numbers of what's our biggest differential in points in our wins in a 3-game stretch if we win this game. So, because I think whatever it is, we may be near it by the end of next week. But hey, guys, this was a great show. What we got coming up this week? I'll be on live Tuesday night on It's Nothing Personal, Just Bills, Tuesday night. Travis, you'll be back Friday for the Friday Night Forecast with Herm and Evan.
And I'll be back Saturday with Mookie. Travis did a great job sitting in for me last night. And I'll be back. I'll hopefully be back next week with Mookie for the Saturday night tailgate. We may have a guest on for that show. Maybe not one of the beat reporters, but a familiar face to the Saturday night tailgate. Well, you'll have to stay tuned and find out.
Sounds good. But hey, for all our viewers tuning in, thank you for always tuning in to the Cold Front Report. It was a big win for the Bills today, 43-21, straight domination, what we wanted to see. Looking like a Super Bowl caliber team. Shout out to the team. Excellent. If you guys, once again, make sure you're following us on all social media platforms. Make sure you're following us at www.coldfrontreport.com. And by the way, if you are an aspiring writer or graphic designer or anything like that, hit us up. We are looking for people to join our team as we are expanding and getting bigger, and we have more things coming up. We just can't do it all like the couple people we have. So, guys, I appreciate you. And as always, go Bills, 43-21 victory, domination. Can't ask anything else. See you guys later.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.